Uptown Link Up. Yes, sir. Hello? Is this Uptown Link Up?
Yes, it is.
Oh, best program ever.
We're here again with another Uptown Link Up special. You know, we have Mr. Joseph Patterson, the head of the UIC, today with us on the Uptown Link Up program. Right? Mr. Joseph Patterson entered politics not so long ago, and we really like what we're hearing from Mr. Patterson. But, you know, some people want to hear more, and, you know, some of them asking the questions behind the scenes, and so we are here to, you know, put them up front to Mr. Patterson. Welcome to the Uptown Link Up Show, Mr. Patterson.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to the discussion and to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Donovan Longmore is a panelist here on the Uptown Link Up Show. You know, Mr. Longmore?
Yes, good evening, greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Glad to be here, be a part of this forum, because we do really need a change. So let's work and see what we can do to make a difference.
Could you explain to the Jamaican people, you know, who were you before politics, before the UIC?
Sure. I'm an ordinary Jamaican, born in Kingston in 1971 to a single mother. Failed common entrance twice, failed technical entrance as well. Went to Spanish Town Secondary, became head boy, transformed at school, passed a few subjects, got a special scholarship.
No, hold a minute. Transform that school, elaborate, please.
Well, sure. You know, Spanish Town Secondary was what they call a new secondary school where you send the dunces children to it. So the fully dunce went to Spanish Town Secondary. So I was one of those that was believed to be fully dunce because I failed all of those previous examinations. But when I got there, I decided that we should not remain dunce. And so I went on a mission to convert the school. So I introduced things like science club, drama club, debating society, quiz team. We entered the quiz team competition, won the first year we entered. So I really changed the behavior, the mindset of the students, and brought us up to a different level. And so the school has not been the same since. So I was head boy as well. So when I left Spanish Town Secondary, I went to Stats. And similarly, I transformed that school as well. It was a good school long before me. But at that school, I showed them that somebody can come from the secondary school and do very well. So I became head boy there as well. I founded the math club, led the junior achievement to one of its first wins, and a number of other things. I graduated with full scholarship to go to UTech to study engineering. And having completed engineering at UTech, I worked as a teacher, teaching math, physics, and engineering science at Kingston Technical, and then became instrumentation manager, assistant manager at Sugar Company, and then migrated to Canada, where I became a CPA and rose up the ranks from the bottom to becoming director of finance in the government, and later on chairman of the board for Oika Credit, $146 billion, what they call them now, social investment impact fund in the Netherlands. And then I returned, well, in between all of that, I returned to Jamaica with my family in 2011. And when I saw the appalling conditions of Jamaica compared to what I left in 1993 and what I saw in 2011, I was convinced that there's no way we could continue under the present form of governance and be the Jamaica that we can possibly be. That's a fast version I just gave you a while ago.
Dual citizenship, but you're still a Canadian, are you?
And yes, I'm still a Canadian citizen.
Isn't some clause in the law that you have to renounce?
No, the law in Jamaica is still a member of the Commonwealth, and under the Commonwealth system, once you are a Commonwealth citizen, you can run for office in Jamaica. So, for example, a person who is a citizen of Bangladesh or Barbados or India, any member of the Commonwealth can actually run for office in Jamaica by virtue of the colonial constitution that we have in place right now. Okay. The only people who are barred from running for office are you in the US. If you become a US citizen, then because you're not a member of the Commonwealth, and you have pledged allegiance to a foreign country as far as they're concerned, then you can't run. But anyone from Canada, England, Bangladesh, India, Barbados, St. Lucia can run in Jamaica.
I ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, and you didn't mention anything about sports.
That's because I wasn't good at it. I did track and field. For the fun of it, I normally come last or second to last in track. I play a little bit of basketball. I'm normally the last person you want to throw the ball to normally if you want to win the game. But I play table tennis quite well, and I also enjoy swimming. But none of these things competitively, just for fun and enjoyment.
What inspires you? Because, when we listen to you, Mr. Patterson, you actually sound like the rest of politicians there. You know that, right?
No, I don't know that. In fact,
I'm telling you, you sound politically correct. Right?
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I would sound anything like them because I'm
not saying that you are like them.
No, I didn't say you said, but I say you say I sound like them, and I would be.
In other words, you're saying the things that we love to hear.
Okay.
Please don't be embarrassed, right? You're saying the things that we love to hear, and that's the way of the politicians out here.
Well, here's a beautiful thing about it.
So before you go into that, I don't want you to stray.
But I've not been a politician.
I understand. I don't want you to stray. I want to know what inspires you for you to believe that you can lead a set of African people in the African diaspora.
Well, the truth of the matter is, it's not so much that I believe that I can lead. Mm-hmm. I don't see another way out. I've not been able to vote in Jamaica since I turned 18 because I have not seen anything to vote for. And there are many Jamaicans like me who have never voted all their lives. And so what inspires me to want to do what I'm doing now is that I want to be able to exercise my right to vote, but I can't vote for those I know have failed us and will fail us in the future. So I had to create something to that I can vote for and that others can vote for as well. I also look at my country and realize I've traveled the world. I've been to many, many countries. I worked with 120 different countries. I've been to Germany, to China, to Myanmar, to Cuba, to the Netherlands, England, France, you name it. I've been around. So I've seen what can be done. And I believe Jamaica is one of the most backward nations on the planet when it comes on to good governance, when it comes on to designing a country that actually benefits the people of the country as opposed to benefit a subsector of the country. And so I want to inspire, manage, and implement change that will give us a Jamaica that is safe, that is clean, that is orderly, where everyone away can live, earn, and retire with dignity. And that's never going to happen if we continue on the same trajectory we've been on for the last 78 years.
You seem so polished. Do you see these words that they call bad words as really bad words or expressive languages?
For me, I don't see any value in using that language. Like, I don't see a value in it. I believe a person must be free to express themselves in the way that they think best and their ability to do so. I also believe in us being responsible and respectful to each other. For me, I don't see why I need to tell you a bad word or why you need what they call a bad word. I don't see why I need
expressive
to
language. That's why I use the word expressive language.
What I'm saying is I don't see the need. If I'm trying to communicate with you, right? I don't need to say whether A, B, C, D, E for me to be able to explain to you what you and I are talking about. Now, some people, on the other hand, some people feel they need to do that. I respect their right to do that, but I don't see the need to do it.
There was a valedictorian at Edna Manley College recently who got up and at the end of the speech, he expressed himself, with one of those words. Have you seen it?
And I support it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, and I'm being very blunt and frank with you. I don't see the value in it. I do not see the need. There's
I
people
ask you that because Jamaicans like the down-to-earth people. The first hurdle, hold a minute. The first hurdle is to get in there, get in that seat, right? Do you agree?
Well, it depends, because for some people, the end justify the means. That don't hold water for me.
Okay.
I am going to be Joseph Patterson that you sit today. So where you sit today is where you're going to get tomorrow. So I'm not going to come and try to endear myself to the people by being somebody I am not. And then when I get into office, I'm somebody else. What you hear me say no, what you see of me no, and that you get later. There's no difference.
All right, you give a little part a while ago, and that you get later. That's not bad. That's not bad. Give us some more of that. Introduce the UIC to the fully dons, and when you do that for the fully dons, the not so dons will understand, and the more educated like yourself, will understand, and so on and so forth.
Well, the UIC is Jamaica's official third political party. We're committed to protecting the life, liberty, and property rights of all Jamaicans equally. We believe that it's important that we have equal rights, equal justice, and equal opportunity as the foundation of building a great nation. We're committed to ensuring that the Jamaica that we have under the UIC is a safe Jamaica, a clean Jamaica, an orderly Jamaica. And we know that the only way to get that is by changing the system from what it is now to one which will be based on good governance with the appropriate checks and balances to keep all the elements of government in check, so government actually works for the people instead of against the people, as it is now.
EAT/UP, eat up. Ethiopian African Theocracy Union Policy. The alternative union policy from 1987 is right and accepted by the slave master, Queen, as the solution for our problem.
You spoke of Afrocentrism, right?
Yeah.
Jamaicans are broken into the colonial Christianity, broken into that, right?
Yeah.
Are you prepared to assist us out of that dilemma?
My goal is not to break you out of Christianity. My goal is to open the Jamaican mind to understand the importance of individual liberty and personal responsibility, and by extension, develop a clear understanding of the need to trade value for value as opposed to expecting handouts or expecting somebody to do for them what they ought to do for themselves. So, in essence, what I'm talking about may achieve what you're looking at, but I'm not set out. My fight is not with Christianity. My fight is with bad governance. So a man will choose him religions. A man want to deal with Christianity, that's him choice. He want to be a Rasta, that's him choice. As a matter of fact, the UIC has been built on the idea of unity. So we don't try to sow any seeds of division, whether it be religious or racial or classism. So what we do is to teach the Rasta, the Muslim, the Christian, the atheist, to focus on one primary thing. How do we defend your right to be you? And make sure that you have the right, the freedom, and the environment to achieve your full potential.
Why are you choosing democracy to be your operating system, though?
Well, I've not chosen democracy because democracy is a dangerous thing. Democracy is mob rule. So what I'm focused on is republic. And by republic, what do I mean? In a republic, you protect the individual's sovereignty. You use democracy as one of the tools to make decisions at certain level. While in a republic, you codify certain things in the constitution that are unquestionable. So no democratic action can change those. So you want to protect a man's right to him life, to him liberty, and him property. And no government subsequently elected must be able to use the so-called democratic vote to overturn that. So for example, in our system, no prime minister could have enforced any kind of medical treatment on everybody because that would just be unconstitutional without question, for example. So we're going to protect your basic rights, and then you use democracy now, democratic processes, to make decisions like which side of the road you drive on and where to put up a street sign. They do not apply democracy to people's personal rights. Those must be encoded, entrenched, and never be in any shape or form challenged by anybody you elect into your government.
Have you ever studied anything about communism?
Absolutely, I've studied all of them: communism, socialism, capitalism, and variations of the same. All political systems fall into two classes. There's only two classes. Either you respect the rights of the individual or you don't. Those are the only two classes. So whether you call it communism, socialism, or capitalism, you need one test. Does this system respect me as a sovereign entity or does not? If it respects my sovereignty as an individual, then that's the system I am for.
I'm asking you these
violates-
questions, Mr. Patterson, because we have a big brother, our uncle, across the waters there, who seems to be managing our affairs covertly, right? And you came into politics with actually the same kind of system. You mentioned democracy. You're using...
No, you mentioned democracy. I just responded to you. No, I'm going to use democratic processes. So for example, democratic process is where you have a group of people voting on an item as opposed to a dictator dictating it. Our system of governance is one that is a republic. A republic is a system that protects the individual sovereignty of all citizens. That's number one. A democracy is about majority rule, which means that the majority may vote against the right of the minority. So we don't want a system like that where a majority can vote away the rights of a minority. So that's a pure democracy, which is mob rule. What you want is a republic. In a republic, you're ruled by the rule of law. So the law says that your fundamental rights are enshrined and untouchable. And then you have democratic processes to make lower level decisions. Decisions that do not touch on your rights. Those are made at the lower level. So you use a democratic process for that. For example, in a community, we want to put up a library. We vote, do we put it up in the east or in the west or the north? So a group of citizens would vote on where they want the site to be for that. That doesn't touch anybody's personal rights. If the question now comes up, shall we take away that group's right, that person's right because they don't like his color, or we don't like his class, or we don't like his height, or we don't like his gender, then you say, no, that is untouchable. The Constitution fully protects the individual right to choose, his right to speak, his right to association, his right to freedom of movement. So those things are never touched. Now, in a democracy, they may have a statement that says that, but then reserve the right to overrule that when they see fit. We don't want that. So we want a true republic, and that's what the UIC stands for.
For Mr. Patterson to bring in your policies, which seems to be very valid, how would that become aligned with Jamaica as it is right now? Because Jamaica, China, and the United States have very strong ties. How would you differentiate that? And of course, both the PNP and the JLP have, strong stigma with the United States government, where they're always looking for money or getting help in some aspect. How would you change or, rectify that situation?
Well, the first thing we're going to do, the Jamaican people are going to rectify that by electing the UIC, which is a very different platform. Then the UIC is going to replace the existing constitution with a republic constitution. And that will also result in us negotiating how we engage with foreign powers. The United States of America, China, or any other country will be treated the same way. Jamaica is for the Jamaican people. Our territory is to be fully protected for the benefit of the Jamaican people. And all treaties that we enter into must be ones that respect the rights and freedom of the Jamaican people as individuals and as a collective. So that's our starting point. From there, now you negotiate. Diplomacy is critical and important. You don't just make blanket statements. You don't just be harsh and rhetorical. You have to be careful in, building good ties while at the same time protecting your interests. So the UIC will protect the interest of all Jamaica.
With these countries, you realize that they are ambassadors and consul generals who are aligned with, whichever country they're aligned to. How would the UIC change that to make that work better for Jamaica?
Well, Ambassadors are just that. They're there to represent the interests of the country that they stand for. UIC as government will simply have our diplomatic charges represent the interest of Jamaica. So we're going to draw upon the talent pool, for example, of the diaspora. We want to make sure that we broaden Jamaica to become not just the 2.9 million people living here, but the other 4 million living outside of Jamaica. And now draw upon all of that expertise to truly sink in and defend the interest of Jamaica. None of what I'm saying is easy. The key thing that we have to do is to be very clear about our policy direction and where we want to go. And the UIC has very clear policy from education to healthcare to economics to politics. So we're going to make sure those principles are what goes forward, but we have to be diplomatic about it. If you want to have a little insight into my thought process, look at the way Lee Kuan Yew managed diplomacy. That's my mentor when it comes on to managing diplomacy. I will be pursuing a very similar kind of diplomacy. It was very successful for them, and I believe it will be successful for us.
Africa for the Africans, Marcus said, right? We are Africans. How far do you plan to go with trading on the continent?
Sure, good question. Now, before we talk about trading with Africa, the first thing you have to know about me and the UIC is that we fully believe in African unity. And by African unity, we mean internationally, having the diaspora of Africa seeing itself as one, all of us as Africans, and our country as Africa, with Jamaica being a state of Africa and the rest of the Caribbean. So our goal, beginning with the first step, which is, first of all, let's make Jamaica a successful good governance model for the rest of the world. Expand that model throughout the Caribbean and tear away from the colonial masters completely and have the Caribbean become an expanded model of African unity, and then extend that success to our brothers in Africa to become the United States of Africa as well. Now, when you talk about trade now, you don't just trade in a vacuum. Trade is based on a number of factors: proximity, cost base, what your economic advantage is, and so on. So we have to approach that from a pragmatic standpoint, what really works. America will remain Jamaica's greatest trading partner together with our Caribbean countries because of proximity. And Jamaica, for better or for worse, we are economically advantaged in terms of tourism. Most of our people are not going to be coming from Africa for tourism, to be honest. They're going to be coming from America and Europe. So we have to be careful as to how we build that product. The UIC wants to make all of Jamaica a tourism product, not just a few pieces, but we want to fix the entire country so that the Jamaicans living here are living in a high-class society, and then we're welcoming people into all of it. Secondarily, Jamaica has a strategic advantage in terms of organic farm produce. We've just not tapped into it. So we want to make Jamaica the organic food capital of the world, and we can do that by borrowing technology and wisdom from the Netherlands, where I visited many times, and seeing how they have taken a small plot of land, being one of the smallest countries in Europe, and becoming the second largest exporter of food. We can make Jamaica the largest supplier of organic food to the world. And so we're going to do that, and that is going to build our foreign exchange earnings, and is also going to create new jobs and allow us to build out the housing infrastructure as well. Doing all of these things now will give us, rather than us simply doing trading with Africa, what we're going to do with Africa is show Africa how they can govern themselves better, what the model of governance is that they should employ. So for example, Ghana, which has 30 million people, the very same system like Jamaica right now, and because of that, your GDP per capita is only $2,500 per person, which is abysmal. By us showing them a better model, they can raise their GDP. The stronger Africa becomes is the more they're in a position now to command international trade. Right now, they're a price taker because they're not in control of their own industries, in control of their own lands. So trying to just say trade with them is meaningless. What we need to do is empower them by showing them how to do things better, and then having them integrate with us on a global level, because we would have mastered how to trade with the rest of the world.
Brought to you by Black People Headquarters. Black People Headquarters is comprised of Pan-African teams and groups that advocates for the African continent's control over all its assets and economic affairs, a black-controlled Africa without borders and freedom to travel across our continent. with one currency, one army, and true independence. Black People Headquarters also advertise products and services for radio and television as we do for social media. Call, text or WhatsApp us at 1-876-478-9357 or email us at cantroman1234@gmail.com. We also implore you to endorse the Machiavellia Foundation programs. Thank you.
Not just say trade like that. Yes, we can trade, for example, intellectual property. We can trade in, say, entertainment and sports. There are a number of things, but you're going to be trying to force it, while Africa itself isn't in command of its own trade. So it's emotionally nice to talk about it. It feels good to say it, but I'm very pragmatic, and I don't want to give us a false expectation. Our first trade is going to be with the countries closest to us. The primary trading partner is going to be the US, because they have a huge market that we have not tapped into. For all the years we've been next door to the US, we continue to trade at way below our trading level.
I don't think the United States is going to like everything that you want to do. It might go against their interests in some ways. The United States
Every country operates that way.
overtly manage Jamaica, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that there will be a stumbling block somehow into your way?
Absolutely. There's already a stumbling block. Right now they're controlling, and by they I mean all the powers that are opposed to the UIC forming government, whether they're local or international. They're right now working to prevent the UIC from becoming the next government, because they know that should the UIC become the next government, Jamaica will be a changed place. You're going to now have the Jamaican people sitting in the driver's seat. So I expect opposition, but I'm not afraid of opposition. If I'm not opposed, then it means what I'm doing doesn't make a difference. So, if you're going to be a great athlete, you talked about sports earlier, if you're going to be a great athlete, you have to overcome a lot of opposition, even the ones mental in your mind that is trying to stop you from getting up early in the morning and doing the workout you need to.
If the
So,
US
we're going to be opposed. We're going to be opposed by a number of forces. The key thing is, do we have the leadership skills to navigate those oppositions?
Okay.
So far, our leaders have not navigated those oppositions very well. They have acquiesced to everything that the colonial masters want them to do, to the detriment of our people. I am prepared to be the kind of leader to Jamaica that Lee Kuan Yew was to Singapore.
If the American government or a couple senators opposed to anything that you're doing, how would you fight back?
Well, I can't tell you that right now, and it would be futile for me to try, because every case is going to be different. But look at it this way. A small country the size of St. Thomas, having 5 million people, 5.5 million people, have been able to raise their GDP from $550 per person to now 65,000 per person, with the USA being fully present and able to derail them. If they can do that in 25 years, we should have been able to do it in 78, and we have not. I, Joseph L. Patterson, as president of the UIC, will lead Jamaica to do that in the next 10 years.
How do you see the standard of tertiary education in Jamaica?
In Jamaica, absolutely abysmal. You can tell how good a country's education system is by looking at its productivity. Jamaica's people, we are currently outputting a GDP per capita of between 5,000 and 9,500 per capita per year. That is incredibly small, and that is a reflection of our education system. From basic school to primary to high school to tertiary, we are not producing high quality graduates. We're producing imitators of other men. We're producing regurgitators of information. We're producing people who can SWOT and pass exams. We're not producing innovators, creators, and inventors. A UIC government is going to change the kind of education system to move away from simply passing exams to acquiring competences and demonstrating those by way of production and productivity.
Big companies in Jamaica, the Digicel, the Cable and Wireless, the JPS.
Yes.
Most
Grace and all
Jamaicans,
them.
yes, most Jamaicans right now are assuming the position of being a slave, because they are losing more than half of their salary to these companies and can't go on with the little 2 points we're leaving at them pocket. How would you combat this kind of thing, knowing that these big companies are the ones who support parties like yourself? Are you going to take funding from these companies?
The UIC's model for our own governance as a political party is to get our funding from the Jamaican people. So we're funded by the small man. So individual donors giving $1,000 a month Jamaican, $25 a month US, $10 a month US, and so on. So we're not funded by the PSOJ oligarchs. They fund the two major parties. They have no
Are you
interest
saying you won't take any money from them ever?
Well, what I'm saying is, if they were to try to fund us, they would only be able to do so on our existing platform. So anybody who is giving us money that says we need to change what we're about, will not be taking a single dime from them, whoever they are, whether it's $1 million US or $1. So we're not going to be controlled by the PSOJ elite. In fact, our proposed model of governance when we take over will be a 100% publicly funded system. So you'll no longer have the moneyed elite being able to control the government by virtue of controlling the electoral process.
People so convicted into the work system and still believing that they're slaves today, home and abroad. You know, what say you on that before we move on?
Well, I disagree. I don't think people know that they're slaves. They are slaves. We are slaves. And it's unfortunate that we don't know that we're slaves. And the best form of slavery is the one where the slave thinks he's free. So most Jamaicans think they're free. They know they're suffering. They know that life is difficult, and they hate their employer, and they think they're being robbed, but they don't think they're slaves. Now, the UIC wants to make it clear that when you don't control your banking system, which Jamaica does not, when you don't control your money printing, which Jamaica does not, when you don't control your money supply, which Jamaica does not, when you don't control your interest rate, which Jamaica does not, when you don't control your exchange rate, which Jamaica does not, then you're a slave. When you don't control your own resources, right now they're digging out our country, taking out bauxite, which is a non-renewable resource. They're mining out tens of millions
Country.
tons of bauxite, including the cockpit country. So they're ravishing Jamaica, destroying our flora and fauna, destroying our ecosystem, destroying our watershed.
Are you saying if you become the government, there will be no bauxite mining?
Absolutely. We're going to ban bauxite mining when we take over the government. Jamaica cannot afford to have bauxite mining. We have a relatively small plot of land. Or 40% of our water supply comes from the cockpit country, which they're trying to dig into more and more. We cannot afford this. This is our life on the line. So we have to take back our country and protect our ecology, because that's all we have. That is our source of water security, food security, and even energy security.
We have a yearly budget that I see them read out all the time in Parliament here. And all the time it seems like there's not enough money to deal with the budget, deal with our needs, right? Nurses, doctors are asking, police officers are asking for more money on their salary, right? And you're saying, right, under your leadership, some of these things that will be bringing in the money, that is now bringing in some money, right? You're saying that you're going to do away with those. So how are we going to fund these areas?
So we're talking specifically about bauxite.
Bauxite, yes.
The bauxite right now, for every dollar we make from bauxite, it costs us $3. It costs us $3 in additional healthcare costs for the people who are damaged.
Mm-hmm.
It costs us by robbing us of farmlands and farm revenues. It costs us by remedial actions in trying to repair the damage done to our environment.
Mm-hmm.
So bauxite right now is a negative contributor. Now our government dispels or ignores the negative costs and only focus on the revenue intake that they get. And that's because they're compromised, because they own 45 to 50% of all of those operations. And they're focused on the tax revenues and the profit revenues, they're not focused on the cost to the man and woman in the street. So while the bauxite industry costs the ordinary Jamaicans a significant amount, the government and those connected to it benefit tremendously. The UIC is not in the business of government being profitable. It's not in the business of connected politicians and industrial leaders being wealthy at the expense of the majority. We're in the business of creating a Jamaica that benefits all Jamaicans in a very equitable and responsible way. So we're going to get rid of bauxite mining and allow the negative costs to go away and invest in the productive sectors of agriculture and community tourism.
What is the procedure of losing the Queen? I already speak about that.
Oh, it's very, very simple. Now, I know they'll tell you that it's complicated. It's very, very simple.
Yes.
Here's how we lose the Queen. It's very simple enough. They're going to tell you it's complicated. All we have to do to lose the Queen is for the government of Jamaica to put forward a referendum to the people of Jamaica with a new constitution that does not include the Queen and ask the people if they want that constitution or not. That's it.
Why are we having this hiccup?
Oh, very simple. We're having this hiccup because we do not want to lose the Queen. Remember, the two parties that we have, and I think many Jamaicans don't realize this, the two parties we have were sponsored by the Crown. They were sponsored by our colonial masters. They were used to get rid of and replace the Marcus Garvey People Political Party, which was the only true indigenous party of Jamaica, the only true grassroots party, which was there for the black man, for the African. And they worked together. The Gleaner Company, the Crown Governor, the PNP leadership, and subsequently the JLP leadership, they all colluded and worked together to get rid of Marcus Garvey and to get rid of the PPP so that they could give Jamaica a fake dichotomy so that we can now be divided and fight between these two parties, thinking that we're fighting over something good, when all we're doing is fighting each other, being distracted by them so that the colonial powers can continue to extract their wealth from us. So for the last 78 years, they have been systematically tricking us, stealing our wealth while pretending to give us an option to vote for one or the other of two parties which are simply two sides of the same coin.
In Jamaica, the homosexuality is against the law. Are you willing to assist us, the people, that is, to continue this policy of having this practice against the law in Jamaica and or fortify these laws so we can keep them forever? Would you assist the Jamaican people in doing this, or you just leave it alone?
No, I don't think we need to say assist the Jamaican people. The Jamaican people are not asking for assistance when it comes on to the matter of homosexuality or anything like that.
Matter of keeping the laws.
No. What the Jamaican people want is a Jamaica that respects the rights and freedoms of all Jamaicans. They don't want any law that segregates or separates or by any particular group of persons. When it comes on to your right to choose what you want to do with your life, with your liberty and your property, a UIC government making a new constitution will do just that.
Well, you sound like America, right? That's enough.
If that's what it sounds like to you, but listen to me.
Brought to you by Black People Headquarters. Black People Headquarters is comprised of Pan-African teams and groups that advocates for the African continent's control over all its assets and economic affairs, a black-controlled Africa without borders and freedom to travel across our continent. With one currency, one army, and true independence. Black People Headquarters also advertise products and services for radio and television as we do for social media. Call, text or WhatsApp us at 1-876-478-9357 or email us at cantroman1234@gmail.com. We also implore you to endorse the Machiavellia Foundation programs. Thank you.
The UIC's position, which is the position of all well-thinking Jamaicans, is to have a constitution that protects the right of every person to their life, their liberty, and their property, provided they do not use force or fraud to infringe on the life, liberty, or property of anybody else. We will not have any laws that single out any specific group in Jamaica for any special treatment. Whether the special treatment is to ostracize them or the special treatment is to give them special rights. All Jamaicans will have the same rights, the same freedoms, the same set of responsibilities, and all will be held accountable for how they use those rights that are granted to them.
In the world today, and we're seeing it in Jamaica, Mr. Patterson, men are dressing as women, right? And they're paroling on our streets, and they're influencing the younger ones. You're saying you're here to protect everyone, including these people, right?
Once the person's a human being, their rights. Okay, if you're a man or a woman, you have the same rights.
I understand.
And we're going to protect those rights. The right for you, for nobody to use force or fraud to infringe on your life, or infringe on your freedom, or infringe on your property. So if you're a man, the same rights. If you're a woman, the same rights. If you're black, the same rights. If you're white, the same rights.
If you're transgender.
What is transgender? I mean, if a person wants to go and play with himself, that's his problem. Right? I'm not going to get into that. What I'm saying is, we're going to protect your right, Sean, your right, Donovan, to do what you want with your life, with your liberty, and with your property, as long as you do not use that right to use force or fraud to infringe on anybody else's life, liberty, or property. What more than that you want? Why you want to make it more complicated? Why we need to go specify whether you're brown or you're short or you light?
It's because of the corruption that is in there and there today that is actually taking over the slackness.
Listen, you have the wrong motivation here.
Yes.
Your goal is not to worry about another person's morals. A theme problem that. Your goal is to make sure him can come and impose theme morals upon you.
But he's doing it on my children.
No. Not in a UIC system. In a UIC system, him can go and change the curriculum in the school to make them teach.
How do you plan to protect the children from this surge of inappropriate behaviors on the internet? Are you going to leave that to parents too as well?
What you want is a truly free society. When you have a free society, what happens? Let's say Sean wants to show pornography. Then I must be able to not watch his or turn on and see his pornography because that lock off. Sean can't force me to see his pornography. Him can't force my child to see his pornography.
Not just porn. Children now, Mr. Patterson, they have the privilege to go on YouTube or on the internet, and they will go on pages that shows them how to fire a gun, fit up a gun, know all the guns, look at all the parts of a lady, right?
Yes. Or
the music some of the music that is on there, right? Telling you that he splatter his head on the concrete, jiggle his brain, right?
Yes.
So we want to know what the UIC
so here's what
is going to, not what the UIC can do, but what it is going to do about this kind of problem that you're having.
We are going to ensure that Jamaica is the safest and freest country on the planet. And what do I mean by that? In Jamaica, anybody will be free to produce and sell whatever they want, but they can't force anybody to buy it or anybody to listen to it or anybody to watch it. So for example, when you drive on a bus in the UIC Jamaica, it will be a quiet bus because nobody can force you to hear the music that somebody else wants to listen to. A parent, when they go on the internet, they will be able to select what they want to allow into their home over the internet. So they can decide what comes through. And you can do that, right? The technology is there. We're going to make sure that all of that is fully available to the Jamaican people to control what they consume and what they don't consume. What we're not going to do, we're not going to censor anybody. We're not going to stop you from sharing your thoughts with others just because we don't like your thoughts. Because today it might be one that you and I agree on, while tomorrow another leader might have a different idea and block what you and I wanted to hear. So we must make sure that we protect free speech and shift the onus to the parent and the consumer to decide what they consume.
The age of consent is 16. Now, I really don't think a child should have a cell phone until they're past 16. I personally don't think that.
Sexual consent must be between adults. Full stop. So 16-year-old, the UIC do away with that. You must be at least the age of majority. Right now that's 18 years old, and that will be the standard for the UIC. The age you can vote is the age you can have sex. So that's done. Let's now go to cell phone. Cell phone is the domain of a parent. A parent decide what kind of tools they're going to give their child to function with.
Do you think taking cell phones away from kids would do Jamaica any good?
The UIC comes at this from a different
No, forget about the UIC. I'm asking you something. Do you think removing cell phones from children under the age of 16 or say 18 would do any good for children in Jamaica, or would do any good for Jamaica in the future?
My concern is with protecting the rights of the citizens. What is good for Jamaica is that we protect the rights of every citizen to make their choices and to live with the consequences of those choices. It is not the role of government to make choices for the Jamaican people. We are to protect the rights of the Jamaicans to make their choices. A parent must be responsible for their child. If the parent or the child breaks the laws concerning respecting the rights of others, then you have a problem.
Two questions, Mr. Patterson, regardless of whether we want to see it or not, because one of the major issues was Jamaica being 60, reigniting a nation. Many ask, what are we reigniting? We're still owned by England. The land of Jamaica is still owned by England, whether we want to accept it or not. The fact that England still has such a major control over Jamaica in terms of land, what would your government do to change that? Because, we're trying to get away from under the Queen. But because of such control, how would that be feasible? And number two,
Number one first. Jamaica is going to become a republic under the UIC. So no more Queen, no more Governor General, no more Crown lands. Jamaica will become truly independent and free with the UIC. Number two, question two.
All right, question two is you were talking about what Sean was talking about, sex and homosexuality and all that. Jamaica is majority a Christian country, and we can get into the moral issues all we want, and God, we have the most churches per capita and stuff like that. Me personally, I believe man to a woman and woman to a man. Whatever another individual do, that's his or her business. But like Sean mentioned, the fact that it will affect our children, because here in the United States, they're teaching that stuff to our children, and I am opposed to it. What happened when that issue or that law, not really law, but that subject matter gets into Jamaica? How is the UIC going to either stop it, or, because you say you're going to give everybody rights, how are they going to prevent that from happening to our future generation?
Those persons who are concerned about homosexuality are being very narrow. What you should be concerned about is protecting the rights of citizens to choose. For example, for parents to choose what their children learn, for example. For parents to have control over their own economy.
But we are a damaged people. We are a damaged people since slavery. There are some ways that we have to curb certain things as leaders. We are damaged, right?
Allow me to finish my statement. I know you don't like my answer, but my answer is very, very simple. We're fighting the wrong battle. Instead of fighting the homosexuals, let us fight for the rights of our people, because when you protect the rights, nobody can come in now and take over your school system and say, what am I pushing on you pick the brains? You understand me? Because you now have the right to decide what when you pick the brains. You understand me? But if you go fight the homosexual, you're fighting a battle which become a different kind of battle. Let the homosexual be homosexual if you want to, but make sure him can't force nothing by you, either through your government or through your school or through your healthcare system, him have no power to force nothing upon you. Him can only force it upon himself and those who want to join him in it. But him can't force it upon you. That's what the UIC want to do. We're approaching this from a practical, pragmatic, effective approach. We're not fighting the homosexual. We're fighting for the rights of the individual to choose. So your school system will be protected. Your healthcare system protected. Your government will be protected because we're not fighting homosexuals. We're fighting for your right as a citizen not to be forced into anything at all. So if you're a Christian man, you can live your Christian values, get your Christian education, get your Christian healthcare because that's what matters to you. And if you're a homosexual, you can go have all the education you want in that field too. But nobody is fighting homosexuals. Every man have a right to life, liberty, and in property. Am I clear?
Yes,
So
you're
you
very
accept
clear.
it, then. You embrace it.
Yeah, you're very clear because everybody's going to have freedom, you know, and that freedom is going to manifest.
You know, like freedom.
Wait a minute.
You know,
Yes, we love freedom, right?
Okay,
but there's
go
certain
on.
aspect of our life that we don't want no freedom into that.
no,
You understand me?
No, you can't take one other man freedom. Let the next man have him freedom. You get yours.
I let the homosexual has his freedom. I think you're going down the wrong lane with that homosexual, right? That is one strike. Wait a minute.
No,
Wait a
hold on.
minute.
No.
But I don't think we need to continue this homosexual thing
No,
because
don't-
yeah, we're
don't
sinking too
stop him,
deep
Sean.
in that area.
Stop him. Let him explain himself.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
You just said a while ago, I am going down the wrong lane with I am not doing nothing with homosexuals. So I'm not going down any lane with homosexuals. The lane I'm going down is the lane of protecting the rights and freedom of every Jamaican citizen to choose for themselves. And that's the lane I am in. So don't associate me with
Yes.
any kind of sexual or whatever. That's for somebody else. My place is to protect your right to be a free man and woman.
Why do you think the subject matter is so problematic to the rest of politicians? Why do you think that is?
Well, because they haven't taken my position. You see, if they were to take my position, they would not be fighting over anything because Jamaica must not fight with anybody about homosexuality. Our fight is about the freedom of the Jamaican people, protecting our rights and freedom, making sure we have an economy where all of us can participate in equally, making sure we have a justice system that works for all of us, making sure we have a police service that respects and protects the rights of Jamaicans. That's what we need. We don't have to fight with nobody about what kind of sex they want to have.
Okay. Point taken. Noted. There is a currency that we, the conscious men, the Pan-Africanists, right? The black conscious man and woman too, are speaking about for years. And that currency is called the Lumi. As the Lumi will take any Latin part under your leadership.
Yes or no. It all depends. The Lumi as it is now is a currency. It's not money, and the UIC is only interested in real money. The US dollar is not real money. The Jamaican dollar is not real money. Real money must be backed by productivity and must not be something that can be manipulated and the volume of exchange at a whim, undermining the purchasing power of those who hold it. So the UIC is totally focused on ensuring that Jamaica uses real money and that the rest of the world is brought on a real money standard.
The Lumi has been backed by Eco6. It has been backed by gold and solar energy. Have you heard about that?
Absolutely. And that's all foolishness.
Okay, tell us. Explain to us.
Yeah, it's very simple. If it's not backed by real productivity that is transparent and that is algorithmically driven, meaning it cannot be manipulated by any one party or the other, then it cannot be real money. So until we have real money, whether you call it Lumi or you call it Bitcoin or you call it cryptocurrency or digital currency, until it is real money, which means it must not be manipulatable by anyone, it must be backed by the productivity of the people who use it.
So you're saying it is in the same position as the US dollar?
Absolutely. Except that
But you're using the US dollar.
The US dollar, like all other currency, is fake money. The difference with the US dollar is that it has reserve status because of agreements made by some people to make it that way. So the US dollar is an unfair advantage over all other currencies. But all currencies are fake money. All of them.
Yes. Or fiat.
I don't use the word fiat in this case because I want to make it very clear that it's fake money. So it's not money, it's fake. And it is the reason why many black people retire poor, because they don't understand economics, they don't understand money, and their government have not made them the wiser for it.
EAT/UP, eat up. Ethiopian African Theocracy Union Policy. The alternative union policy from 1987 is right and accepted by the slave master, Queen, as the solution for our problem.
Are you going to transform the curriculum so the younger ones who are coming from a basic school level know the checks and balances of money?
Absolutely. We're going to make sure that we have the UIC has an education policy called the Learning Enrichment Advanced Program that has 3 elements. Element number 1 is to make sure the child understands his mind, body, and personality or character so that he has full charge of himself, both mentally and biologically. Number 2, we're going to make sure the child understands human behavior, human relationships, how to build good personal, family, community, and business relationships. And number 3, the child must fully understand money, monetary system, the science of money, how money works, how to make money work for them instead of always working for money. And then we're going to link to all of this. These are the 3 core subjects, not math and English. Link to all of this now, the other subjects taught interdisciplinarily so that the child knows how to apply the knowledge versus simply regurgitate it. So we're going to create innovators, inventors, creators, problem solvers as opposed to exam passers.
I agree with you 100%. We should learn who we are from a very, very tender age, right?
Yeah. Yes.
The men on the corner, right? When our parents leave to work and they know they're going to be late or we're going to be early from school, coming home from school at a certain time, they will look at the man on the corner and say, make sure say him staying at the yard. Make sure say they are accountable for what they're doing, right? And so the corner man now became a parental figure in some of our lives that kind of help us to stay the straight and in your administration. These corner men could play a role of security. Would you allow any idea of such?
I have to be careful in my answer of that because it's not the role of government to decide if the cornerman is going to help out or not. The role of government is to make sure that we have a good policing service that protects their right, legally protect the rights and freedoms of the citizens, and to have an army to protect the borders so that Jamaica is protected from the influx of bad elements. By doing so, we facilitate the creation of communities where people can now come together and work together in the ways that they see best, as opposed to government being a top-down influencer that seeks to direct traffic in terms of how the people live their lives. We want to make sure that the students are properly educated, parents are properly educated, and the community has the facilities like a community center, proper parks, proper playgrounds, so that people can now build their communities and become as together as they wish, or less than together, because sometimes people make choices. So the corner man is something where I want to leave that to the citizens, but ensure that the citizens know that the state is behind them fully, with proper security and proper public facilities for them to work with.
Carry you home to the idea of self-reliant communities.
Very simple. It's not even open to the idea. We have to become self-reliant as individuals, families, communities, and a country. So we have to find a way to make sure we can provide for ourselves properly.
Will your administration go home to a new industrialized program?
The Jamaica that we're going to create is one that is going to spur and inspire people to be creative and innovative. So by default, you're going to have a new industrialized program, if you will, coming from the people because of your government, providing them the kind of environment to innovate and create.
Sometimes you might create an environment, and the people don't read it and say, boy,
They will read it.
At this environment is...
No, in Jamaica, if you look around Jamaica, our people, we're fighters. The only thing holding us back in Jamaica is our government.
So I said that because, it's nice when government can show the way and say, this is what can happen. And so we're going to start this thing, and
we are going to show the way in some degree, but I also want to let you know that we have to move away from the model of the big government gatekeeper, because that's what's killing Jamaica. Politicians gatekeeping all of the industries and killing them. They gatekeep banana, they kill it. They gatekeep sugar, they kill it. They gatekeep coffee, they kill it. They gatekeep tourism, it gets sold out to some private interests. They gatekeep the telecom sector, it becomes monopolized. They gatekeep in energy, we end up with a energy monopoly and high prices for energy. So we have to be careful how much power we put in the hands of government. I want a Jamaica that liberates the people and give them the power to create to the nth degree, because their government facilitated them rather than oppose them or seek to control them or monopolize them. We want people like you to come back, Sean, and not have to beg me as Prime Minister or some MP or some whatever to give you a blight or let you through the gate. We want you to come back to Jamaica, and the way the country is set up, you can just drop in and bam, innovate and create something and test it in the market and go out, as opposed to government nothing. Well, you have to come talk to me first and the boss, and me have to sign off on it to the boss and whatever. We have to stop that. It's killing Jamaica. I want to open up Jamaica to the 4 million diaspora out there. They're going to come back. They're going to create educational product. They're going to create new industries. They're going to create new sectors. They're going to explore new ideas. They're going to bring new technology in. They're going to create new partnerships. But if we have government as this controlling rod that is just always trying to control everything, we're going to lock out a lot of people, and that's why Jamaica is behind. Let's open up the country to all Jamaicans, home and abroad.
Thank you for the time spent. Hopefully.
All the best.
All the best.
All
Have
right.
a wonderful day.
Yes, man.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you very much for your time. And there we have it. Mr. Joseph Patterson, the leader and president of the UIC. Now we're here at the Uptown Link Up and the Black People Headquarters team. So thank you for watching again. It's the Uptown Link Up show. Peace out.
I like Uptown Link Up. Yes, sir. Hello? Is this Uptown Link Up?